everyone, welcome, namaste and greetings. Guys, what is synchronicity? I imagine that most of you who follow the channel and listen to my regular uploads have a fairly good understanding or a connection with synchronicity yourselves. But it's long been a fascinating subject, and it's one that I am particularly interested in and probably connected with as well. So I thought it might be prudent or interesting to do an upload about synchronicity and to help explain it a little bit further for those of you who are interested. Synchronicity, what is it? The term was coined by Carl Jung, or Jung, however you say it, I always get it wrong. But it was termed by him, the famous psychologist or psychoanalyzer who lived from 1875 to 1961, when he was studying archetypes and collective consciousness. So this was part of his journey of understanding the interconnection of synchronistic events. So he termed it as this: synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have the eyes to see. It's a strange energy event, and it's difficult to put into words, but we will expand on it as best we can, and I'll use a few personal examples. So most people will experience synchronicity in their lives, and most will come to find that the more they are aware of it happening, the more and more synchronistic events start occurring and opening up. Most of us would say that synchronistic events are usually positive, or they lead to some sort of positive outcome. It's as if you are connecting to collective consciousness or spiritual energies when synchronistic events occur. So it's this understanding or this palpable ability to travel between dimensions and connect with your spiritual ethos or your spiritual being that allows you to see and understand the synchronistic messages coming your way. So you might say have an synchronistic event occur, and then you might say to yourself, so what is it? Is it showing me something? Is it answering a question I have asked? Is it evolving my spiritual or my soul journey somehow? Is it taking me in a certain direction? So usually when an event occurs, it is meant to, and it's meant to make your synapses, hum or buzz. You should get a feeling of almost deja vu or some sort of deeper connection to the event around it when a synchronistic event occurs. And it should give you that sort of wow effect, like, oh my God, that's bizarre. How did that happen? It feels as though, as I said, synchronicity occurs when the ethos in this dimension is merging through those veils of spirituality into a finer dimension that almost plots itself for these events to occur. It's almost as if they are scripted events. I'll give you an example. A while ago, one of my beautiful pets died. He was a lovely, beautiful, black, placid cat, and his name was Toby. And I was quite bereft at the passing of his, the death of him. I then decided perhaps we would look for a new cat, and to give, that wonderful connection again of the pet with the family, and love, and honouring and respecting and all the enjoyment that a pet brings into your life. And I had this vision of a tabby cat with a short coat. I love tabbies with a tight short coat. And we were going on holiday and happened to need to pop into a pet shop. We weren't actually looking for a kitten at this stage, but we were thinking about looking for one within a few months. And we were just going in the pet shop to get a few supplies. And it turns out while we were in the pet shop, there was this little kitten in a cage, and he had such an amazing, interesting personality that he followed us around the cage and put his little paws up on the glass walls and kept following us. And he was to me, he was the most beautiful looking little kitten I had seen. And his nature seemed so placid and gentle and loving. You could tell that he wasn't going to be skitterish or, scratchy or snarly. So we went home, and I got home, and a few hours later I said, I just feel that I want that kitten. So drove back down to the pet shop and ended up buying the little kitten, who most of you have now seen in the videos, and is called Enzo. And actually he's sitting in the room right now while I'm doing this video. There is Enzo, sitting there on the chair, lovingly cleaning himself. So I became extremely attached to this little kitten. He is divine, and he has a really amazing nature. And I thought to myself, I'm just totally in love with this little cat that turned up in my life, and he was the perfect image of what I felt I wanted in a kitten. But the similarities didn't stop there. The coincidence or synchronicity was about to become even more unusual. So he had fit every bill in my mind's eye of a cat that I would love to have in my home, and there he was in a pet shop waiting for us when we weren't looking for a cat. And then when we had to start buying the litter, the kitty litter for him, this was on the cover of the bags that we buy. And it is almost him to an exact T. It was quite bizarre. Everything about him is almost Enzo. Even the markings on the paws, the look on his face, everything. And so we couldn't believe how synchronistic that was. That's an example of a strange synchronistic event. It almost felt like a subliminal event, as if I had been subliminally coerced into looking for a cat that was the exact replica of a cat on a marketing strategy for cat products, yet here we have him in our home. Now another example is the new little dog that we have just recently got, who is also in the room right now. Although you can't quite see her the same, this is little Stevie, who's also very new to the home. Now here's another paradigm that we can view. I was going to use both of these examples to you, both Enzo and Stevie, as synchronistic events, and when I started making the video, they both turned up in the room. Now there's another connection of synchronicity. So this should be giving you an idea of how synchronistic events work. They have this cohesive ability to stretch from more than just one unusual occurrence or event, and they turn into like a web or a thread that's going through your life. And this is how synchronistic events work. So coming back to Stevie, we sadly lost a cat to a road accident outside our house a few weeks ago. She was a beautiful rescue cat, and we were giving her a second chance at life by giving her a loving home, and sadly she was hit and killed. But she didn't die immediately. She ran away after the accident to hide, and no one could find her. And it took exactly 3 weeks until we found Tasha's body. She did eventually die, and she must have died on her own and lonely and in pain, which was very traumatic. She got hit in the car accident on the 21st of July, and it wasn't until the 7th of August, on the day of the lunar eclipse, that she was released back to us by the universe so that we could bring her home to bury her. Now, the only reason that her body got found was where she had run to hide was at a neighbour's house. And everyone had been looking for her. We'd all been calling her name and looking around the neighbourhood, and we'd been looking at this particular property where she was actually in. She was passed away there. But no one could find her because she was in an unusual spot that no one was looking in. Now, the day that she was found, the neighbours had decided to install a heat pump, and they wanted the outside heat pump box to not be visible. So they asked the contractor to find a place on the property that no one would see the outside pump box. So he hunted around the house, and he eventually found a small deck the side of their property that had a closed off grill or gate in it. And they said, yes, that's fine, put it in there. So he opened the gate, and lo and behold, in there was Tasha's body. Now, they knew we were looking for Tash, so they knew it was our cat. So 3 weeks to the day, on the day of the lunar eclipse, we found Tash. She was brought back home, and we gave her a burial, and we buried her. So traumatic, I said, I can't have another cat again for worry that they will suffer the same consequences. So I said, perhaps we'll think of a dog. And in my mind's eye again, I had thought for a long time, if we had another dog in our lives, that it would be a small dog with wool as opposed to fur, and preferably a poodle cross, and a female, and a champagne colour. Now, to find those are very difficult because a lot of people want them, so they're usually pre-ordered. We went on to a thing in New Zealand called Trade Me. It's a little bit like any of your online sites that you might have in your own countries, eBay or whatever, and you can find pets on there. And here was Stevie. She had been listed the day before we started looking, only because she had been on hold already previously ordered by someone, because she was in fact the pick of the litter. She was exactly what most people want. So someone had ordered her and had had her on hold for 16 weeks, and then told the breeder that they couldn't uplift her and they had to let her go. So she was put on for public purchase the day before we looked at her. We phoned the breeder, we said we'd like to come and see her, and we ended up with Stevie. And she wasn't even available until the day that we got Tash home and made the decision to get a little puppy. So those are what you call synchronistic events. And I'm sure that if each of you take the time to think about in your own lives what might be a synchronistic event, you start to become more aware of them. And when you do, this is like allowing the evolution process of your soul's messages and your connection at the higher level to come into being. And synchronistic events usually give you an insight, or they enable a further paradigm of your existence to be opened so that you can experience more and feel more and go further and try more things at a deeper level to a higher connection. So the more synchronicity you allow in your life, the more you will get. The more you recognize it, the more you will get. You know, synchronicity can be as simple as driving along the road and seeing your mother's name on a number plate. Or you might be thinking about a certain song and it comes on the radio. You might be thinking about a certain food that you'd like, and someone walks in to the tea room at morning tea and they've made it and it's a treat for everyone. It can be a million different ways that synchronicity weaves its way through your life. But there is no doubt that every time you absorb it, you interact with it, you listen to it, you communicate with it, you evolve. Synchronicity is usually such a powerful uplifter. It's usually it's like being plugged into something. You gain more insight, you gain more awareness, more aliveness. You know, I have so many other interesting stories that have been incredibly synchronistic, ranging from right down to the small and very personal to very big decision makers that have helped us to make decisions about buying and purchasing properties, and knowing which properties were wrong to make or which deals have been wrong, and saving us from losing literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you can see that by tuning into synchronicity, allowing the awareness of the universe to connect with you, you expand your ability to perceive, to be enlightened, to understand, and to grow. For any of you wanting to know or follow up a little bit further on synchronistic events, a really good book or series of books to read is this one, The Celestine Prophecies. They are about synchronistic events, and they are a great read because they are sort of based on a storytelling perspective. But they have kind of like 9 insights involved. And I'm just showing you a couple here. The first one is a critical mass, and it says a new spiritual awakening is occurring in human culture. An awakening brought about by a critical mass of individuals who experience their lives as a spiritual unfolding, a journey in which we are led forward by mysterious coincidences. And then the second insight is this awakening represents the creation of a new, more complete worldview which replaces a 500-year-old preoccupation with secular survival and comfort. While this technological preoccupation was an important step, our awakening to life coincidences is opening us up to the real purpose of human life on this planet and the real nature of our universe. And I think therein lie some of the key points of the power and passion and enlightenment of synchronicity. So with that in mind, I'll leave you there, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'm pleased you did, because if nothing else, this will certainly enable you to be able to be open to viewing more of your own wonderful synchronistic events in life. So thanks again, all the best for happy synchronistic journeys. Namaste.